I'm advocating for Tory Lanez because the evidence shows that he's innocent, and he deserves to be pardoned by Governor Gavin Newsom. You know, he's 100% exonerated from the gun, and for that alone, he should be home with his family.
Talk of a presidential pardon for Tory Lanez is heating up. In a case already steeped in controversy, whispers of political maneuvering are beginning to echo louder. Unexpected names are stepping into the spotlight. New alliances are forming behind the scenes. The legal saga appears to be entering an entirely new phase. The focus has shifted far beyond the events of that night. It's now about influence, narratives, and who has the power to reshape outcomes. From public court battles to private political conversations, the momentum appears to be shifting. If insider reports hold weight, this development could redefine not only the case, but how justice is perceived in high-profile celebrity trials.
I am 100% excluded, not inconclusive like they said when I was in trial. I'm 100% excluded from this gun when it comes to DNA.
Since Tory Lanez's conviction, waves of support have continued to build, no longer limited to fan outcry. Prominent figures in both entertainment and politics have raised their voices, with claims of mishandled evidence and unfair treatment surfacing across social media and news outlets. Notable public personalities have gone on record expressing belief that the trial overlooked key facts and leaned too heavily on public sentiment. One outspoken supporter has insisted that the evidence fails to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. In a recent televised segment, this same figure called on California Governor Gavin Newsom to step in with a pardon, citing gaps in the gun-related charges and emphasizing broader concerns about the fairness of the legal process. Arguments for Tory Lanez's release have grown louder, with notable voices suggesting he belongs back home with his loved ones. These statements are gaining traction, not just because of fan loyalty, but due to influential figures weighing in with perspectives that challenge the official narrative surrounding the conviction. One such figure, known for outspoken commentary on legal issues involving celebrities, has amplified the conversation. This individual revealed that Tory contacted them from prison and shared an extensive account of what allegedly occurred.
Mr. Peterson never shot anybody, never even touched that gun, never fired the gun.
A central focus of their remarks revolved around a controversial text message that's been circulating widely across social platforms. Many assumed the text was a confession tied directly to the incident. However, according to this account, the message was unrelated to the shooting. Instead, it allegedly referenced personal matters that had no bearing on the charges. This clarification, if accurate, reshapes how the public might interpret that key piece of evidence. Then came another unexpected development. A chart-topping music figure, known for rarely commenting on contentious legal matters, shared a public petition calling for a gubernatorial pardon. Posted to a social media story, the message was brief but impactful. Come on soon. The timing and platform gave the post extra weight, considering the artist's typically cautious public stance. The message fueled renewed momentum among supporters. It served as a high-profile signal that conversations about wrongful conviction and legal fairness weren't limited to niche forums. With this endorsement, the push to revisit the case appeared to gain mainstream attention and media traction at a critical moment in the campaign for justice. The momentum surrounding Tory Lanez's case continued to build as subtle but impactful moves from public figures added fuel to the fire. While some celebrities have avoided speaking directly on the matter, their quiet actions have not gone unnoticed. These seemingly minor gestures are now being dissected for deeper meaning.
I'm advocating for Tory Lanez because the evidence shows that he's innocent, and he deserves to be pardoned by Governor Gavin Newsom. You know, he's 100% exonerated from the gun, and for that alone, he should be home with his family.
Several high-profile names still follow Tory Lanez on social media, while others have visibly distanced themselves from the other party involved in the case. One globally recognized business mogul and media personality was recently seen playing Tory's tracks. A-list artists and athletes have also drawn attention through their social activity, some quietly unfollowing one party while continuing to support Tory. These digital cues have ignited debates among fans and insiders alike. In today's media-driven climate, such silent endorsements or rejections can speak louder than public statements. The pattern has raised serious questions about private opinions, undisclosed alliances, and what conversations might be unfolding beyond the spotlight. It's a reflection of how even small online behaviors can influence narratives and shape public perception in major legal battles. But the most unexpected twist came from the political world. A conservative member of Congress, Representative Anna Paulina Luna, entered the spotlight with a forceful public appeal to California Governor Gavin Newsom.
Tory Lanez was stabbed 14 times by another inmate at a California prison. He suffered 2 collapsed lungs, but we are told he is now breathing on his own.
She demanded that Tory Lanez be granted a pardon, arguing that his conviction was marred by questionable evidence, undue pressure, and potential bias. Her statement reframed the issue entirely. What had started as a celebrity courtroom saga was now merging with political controversy and claims of systemic injustice. This wasn't just about entertainment anymore. It was about legal credibility, political accountability, and the deeper forces that shape high-profile prosecutions in America's justice system. The tension surrounding Tory Lanez's case reached new levels when a promise of explosive evidence emerged. A political figure claimed that new proof, allegedly capable of reshaping the entire legal outcome, would be revealed within 36 hours. The implication was that key aspects of the case may have been overlooked or distorted. However, this declaration was quickly met with resistance. Legal representatives for the opposing side responded firmly, stating the conviction had followed a lawful, transparent process. Public comments reinforced that stance, asserting that the facts had already been thoroughly reviewed and verified through due legal procedure. They criticized any alternative claims as part of a broader misinformation campaign designed to mislead the public. But just as the legal and political tensions were escalating, the situation inside prison walls took a terrifying turn.
Well, I heard the whole story from Tory's mouth. He called me personally from prison, and I now understand why he said sorry, and it's not for any shooting at all. So I'll let him tell that story when he comes home, but the sorry was not for what people.
Tory Lanez was reportedly stabbed 14 times during an attack that left him hospitalized with a collapsed lung. The severity of the assault raised serious questions, not just about prison security, but about what or who may have been behind such a violent incident. Street rumors circulated quickly. Some claimed the timing of the stabbing, coming just before the alleged new evidence was set to drop, was too suspicious to ignore. Whispers began suggesting that powerful interests might be at play, working to ensure that the case stayed closed and that no new narrative could emerge. The most controversial theory pointed toward the involvement of influential industry figures with high-level connections. Some speculated that these entities were moving pieces like a chessboard, exerting behind-the-scenes control to maintain the outcome they preferred. Whether fact or fiction, these theories have intensified public curiosity and suspicion, further blurring the line between justice, influence, and manipulation. As events unfold, it's becoming clear that this case isn't just about one verdict. It's about power, reputation, and the forces that may operate far from the courtroom's public eye.
So the girl comes out of the rear passenger and she goes to the front passenger. And she opens up the car door?
Yeah.
And then what happens?
They're screaming and shouting at each other and they start fighting.
The 2 girls?
Yeah, I can see one feet coming out trying to kick her and the other one's fighting and then the passenger gets out.
The momentum behind the growing calls for a presidential pardon intensified as unexpected developments emerged from Tory Lanez's legal team. In a surprising move, his defense released new evidence that could significantly alter public perception and possibly reshape the course of the case itself. Central to this shift is the role of Kelsey Harris, a woman directly connected to the events of that night and reportedly a former close associate of the other party involved. Tory Lanez's legal team claims that Harris, not Lanez, may have been the actual shooter. The assertion gained traction when it was revealed that Harris pleaded the Fifth Amendment during her testimony, refusing to answer whether she witnessed Tory shoot the alleged victim. That decision raised red flags and sparked questions about what she might be protecting or concealing. According to Tory's legal team, new audio from the night of the shooting contains testimony from a defense witness who told law enforcement that the shots appeared to come from a woman, not Lanez. The same witness reportedly described a chaotic scene, a violent altercation between two women involving physical combat, including kicking and scratching. The driver allegedly attempted to break up the fight, while Lanez remained in the back seat, uninvolved in the conflict.
He was stabbed 14 times, 5 times in his back, 1 under his left cheekbone. In fact, his jaw was open.
If this account is proven accurate, it calls the entire narrative of the prosecution into question. The case that has dominated headlines for months might have overlooked or misinterpreted a critical sequence of events. Additionally, Tory Lanez made statements from behind bars, directly challenging the prosecution's claims regarding DNA evidence. He asserted that his DNA was not simply inconclusive, as the court was previously told, but that it was entirely excluded from the weapon itself. This contradiction could hold serious weight. If validated, it undermines a key element used to convict him. The implications go far beyond public debate. They could play a pivotal role in future legal appeals or clemency efforts. As these new allegations, claims, and potential evidence continue to surface, the demand for transparency and re-examination grows. With influential supporters and legal teams pushing forward, this case appears far from settled. What happens next could redefine its outcome entirely. If these revelations hold weight, it raises a critical question. How was a guilty verdict reached in the first place? The inconsistencies now surfacing suggest there may have been significant oversights in how the case was handled and interpreted, adding further fuel to the growing movement for justice. A legal advocacy group known as Unite the People, an organization committed to social justice and wrongful conviction reform, held a public press conference that dropped a potentially game-changing allegation. At the center of this claim was attorney Walter Roberts, the group's lead counsel, who shared explosive testimony involving Kelsey Harris's bodyguard. According to Roberts, bodyguard Bradley James allegedly overheard Kelsey Harris admit to being the person who discharged the firearm. His claim states that Tory Lanez never fired a weapon and was actively trying to prevent the situation from escalating. James alleges that the firearm discharged during a struggle between Tory and Harris as he attempted to gain control of the weapon and defuse the danger. If accurate, this testimony not only challenges the prosecution's timeline, but also directly opposes the narrative upheld in court. James claims that Lanez did not even possess the firearm when it was fired, suggesting that the entire event may have stemmed from a physical altercation between two women, not an intentional act by Lanez. This new version of events mirrors earlier eyewitness reports describing a chaotic confrontation between the women involved, with Tory allegedly trying to intervene rather than contribute to the violence. Adding to the public pressure, emotional statements have been made by family members close to Lanez. One of the most vocal critics of the verdict was his father, who appeared outside the courthouse following the ruling. Speaking directly to the press, he passionately accused parties associated with the opposing side, specifically naming major industry figures and corporate affiliations, including Roc Nation and its founder, Jay-Z. While such claims require careful scrutiny and legal vetting, they have added a new layer of intensity to the ongoing calls for clemency and case review. Combined with the efforts from advocacy groups and legal professionals, these developments indicate that a broader campaign is now underway, not just to secure a pardon, but to question whether justice was served at all. An intense statement outside the Los Angeles courthouse marked a turning point in public perception of the case. In a highly charged address, Sunstar Lane, Tory Lanez's father, spoke out passionately about what he described as a major miscarriage of justice. His words echoed frustration, anger, and a deep sense of betrayal as he named individuals he believed played a role in the conviction. In his statement, he called out several influential names, including prosecutors, entertainment executives, and music moguls. Those included Megan Thee, Alex Barrow, Roc Nation's Chief Operating Officer Desiree Perez, and industry figure Jay-Z. He pointed to what he called a deeply flawed and corrupt system that, in his view, had wrongly incarcerated his son. The claim gaining momentum is that Tory Lanez may be behind bars for a crime he did not commit, with recent developments reviving conversation about a possible presidential pardon. Word spreading throughout media circles suggests high-level efforts are quietly being made to oppose that pardon. According to insiders, these efforts may be connected to concerns about reputational risk and unresolved industry disputes. A growing theory alleges that Megan Thee Stallion's affiliation with Roc Nation plays a central role in the pushback. Some believe Jay-Z's team might see Tory's potential release as a threat, especially given the controversy surrounding his previous decision to remain an independent artist instead of signing with Roc Nation. Industry insiders speculate that tension began when Tory reportedly declined their offer, prompting friction that ultimately snowballed into greater consequences. The speculation has extended across social media, where fans and observers alike are questioning the dynamics behind the scenes. Numerous voices online are calling out Jay-Z's business empire, alleging that its influence is being used not just to shape music careers, but also to impact legal outcomes. They claim that Roc Nation's support for Megan's legal strategy may have involved more than legal defense. It may have been part of a calculated effort to sideline Tory permanently. These allegations have not been proven and remain part of a larger, ongoing conversation surrounding power, influence, and justice in the entertainment industry. However, the public pressure continues to mount. As talk of a presidential pardon grows louder, so too does the scrutiny of those who may have had a stake in keeping Tory behind bars. With discussions around a potential presidential pardon for Tory Lanez gaining traction, industry insiders report that certain high-profile figures are urgently working behind the scenes to protect their interests. Reports suggest that influential names, including Megan Thee Stallion and Jay-Z, are now moving strategically to prevent new developments from disrupting the case's current outcome. It appears this surge in support for Tory's pardon caught some by surprise. What began as quiet advocacy has evolved into a serious national conversation, one that threatens to challenge the official narrative. Sources indicate efforts are being made to keep critical evidence from being reconsidered or even acknowledged in public forums. The stakes are rising quickly. A presidential pardon would be more than just freedom for Tory Lanez. It would represent an institutional acknowledgement that a miscarriage of justice may have occurred. That kind of reversal would have far-reaching implications, both for Tory's personal and professional reputation and for those who have maintained his guilt. The pardon, if granted, would be interpreted as a major vindication, potentially altering public opinion and restoring his place in the industry. However, this possibility presents significant risks for those who have stood behind the current version of events. For Megan, Jay-Z, and Roc Nation, the narrative they've aligned with could begin to unravel under a different legal outcome. A pardon would raise doubts about the original conviction and draw increased scrutiny to the institutions and influencers that supported it. On the opposing side, Tory's advocates are positioning this moment as a last shot at justice. Armed with new affidavits, previously unheard witness accounts, and claims of prosecutorial misconduct, they believe the pardon is not only justified, it's necessary. They argue that the initial conviction was shaped by public pressure, shaky testimony, and misinterpreted evidence. As the public discourse intensifies, the courtroom is no longer the only battleground. Social media, Press conferences and online petitions are now playing a pivotal role in shaping how this case is viewed. Whether or not a pardon is ultimately granted, the conversation surrounding it is already influencing public perception and potentially reshaping careers, reputations, and legacies in the process. This has become more than just a legal battle. It's a full-scale war for control over the narrative itself. Every faction involved is fighting to shape public opinion, influence future decisions, and secure their place on the right side of history. With Tory Lanez's name tied to a potential presidential pardon, the stakes are enormous and growing by the day. A pardon at this level isn't just about legal relief. It would be a public statement, a symbolic undoing of what some now argue was a flawed conviction. It would call into question Megan Thee Stallion's version of events and possibly trigger a wave of scrutiny toward key figures, particularly Roc Nation and Jay-Z, who have remained influential in how this story has been framed. As new claims and counterclaims emerge, the backlash has intensified. Behind closed doors, political and industry power players are said to be ramping up pressure. The credibility of major institutions, artists, and legal authorities now hangs in the balance. The real question is, what happens next? Will the White House weigh in? Could a presidential figure like Donald Trump use this case to galvanize public opinion and grant a pardon that would send shockwaves through both the entertainment and legal worlds? Or will the new evidence simply fade into the background of an already complex and controversial case? With so many layers, celebrity, justice, race, politics, and power, this case has become a lightning rod for national attention, and it's far from over. Whether the pardon goes through or not, the implications of this battle will be felt across entertainment, law, and culture for years to come. Drop a comment below to share your thoughts. This conversation is only just beginning, and if you're ready for the next chapter in this unfolding saga, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next bombshell.